Hey YouTube, once again your Vaping Minuteman is here. Today I'm going to tell you why I believe HR2058 is not dead. There's been a lot of misleading going on in the community by some individuals that believe HR2058 is dead. I have to say I disagree with you, and there's a few reasons. This same individual stated that the new Cole Amendment bill, the Bishop Cole Amendment replaced HR 2058. I can see during the discussions as to why they would believe this, but Representative Cole has not abandoned HR 2058. Let's talk a little bit about what the similarities and what the differences between them are. Well, for one, the Cole Amendment, it allows for higher regulation of the flavors, which honestly, that's one thing that we all want. We all want regulation, we don't want our flavors to really be regulated. You know, we all like our Skittles, we all like our Fruit Loops, different strokes for different folks, and that was actually left out of of the Cole Bishop Amendment. HR 2058 had protections for that, or still has protections. Also, the Cole Bishop Amendment has a 2-year deadline. Cole Bishop is set up to where in 2 years it's going to be revisited. And let's look at the timeline. The first deadline, the deadline to submit to the FDA, is in 2 years. So, say 2 years down the road, we find that it doesn't pass. Well, what that does is that makes all of our companies have to rush before the end of that 2-year period in order to go ahead and get everything in. That's the sad part, because with the changing the predicate date to now, that allows for anything before August 8th to be legal, and then that also allows for things to be able to say that it is similar. But the problem is, let's say 2018 comes around and the deadline is fastly approaching. These same companies that the Cole Bishop Amendment saves, it really puts them in more trouble if it does not get put back into the bill again. And, that could happen. HR 2058 is permanent. On top of that, it's just the simple fact, a bill is not dead until the author and sponsors abandon it. Yes, the way a lot of people are seeing it, it's been in committee since last year. There were a lot of issues, and some of those issues were addressed in the Cole Bishop Amendment. But the problem is, maybe they should have just went in and amended HR 2058. The other thing we have to consider is who's on that committee. The Appropriations Committee is comprised of different people than was on the Health and Human Services Committee, which is the committee that HR 2058 went in front of first. And that's another issue, because the simple fact, why is it not being brought up? It's because of who runs that committee. It's because of the people that sit on that committee. We pressure our representatives to support HR 2058 and to sign on as a co-sponsor. That puts more pressure onto the heads of that committee to let it come up for a voting committee. And that is why it is not dead. Because simply until Representative Cole abandons it. Now, I have personally, through looking at legislation, 3 classifications of bills. I have dead, active, and inactive. Dead and inactive, a lot of people would consider the same, but I don't. Inactive to me is simply the bill is not active in a committee at that time. However, it could still be brought forward. And that inactive is where HR 2058 is. It's not dead. Dead would be that the congressman completely abandoned it and then went into another bill. He didn't. What he did was the Cole Bishop Amendment sets a precedence, using the same language that a few others have used. It sets a precedence for HR 2058. What it does is it allows for people to say, hey, look, this is what's going on. This has already passed Congress. Let's give the other one a try. Let's see what happens. A legal precedence is something that goes back and is looked at to make a final decision in court. Now, I will say I made a mistake on Tuesday night. And I'll admit my mistakes. On Tuesday night, and a few other times, I've stated I was worried about a line item veto. When I was in school, the line item veto was still a big thing. I had not been made aware until just recently that the line item veto was overruled in the Supreme Court. But the thing is, reason I didn't know it was overruled, a lot of states still have it. But it's overruled on the federal level. That makes me a little happier to know that that is not an option for President Obama, because he has came out vocally against vapor products. But again, I'm making a case HR 2058 is not dead. I've made that case. The simple fact, yes, it's been in committee since last May. Fact. There are still 52 co-sponsors of HR 2058. That's a fact. Fact. This year, our representatives are up in Congress. So here's the other thing. Should this bill, HR 2058, not come forward before November, we, the people, have the power to go after our representatives and say, you need to support this. Do you support vapors' rights? Minutemen back in the Revolutionary War were the ones who were taught in the art of war. They weren't the militia. They weren't just random people. They were the ones that actually were taught. And that's what this channel is for mostly, is to teach you how to go out there and fight the good fight. Teach you how to be a responsible vapor. I have always and will always pride myself in honesty, integrity, and clarity. And I'm telling you today, I still pride myself in those things. But we have to be strong. We have to fight to be able to save HR2058 and to save the vapor industry. Remember, always call your congressman. Don't write. I know a lot of people, that's all you can do, but it's easy to make a 5-minute call during the day, or just call and leave a message for your representative, because they look at those more than they look at emails. And this is coming straight from a congressman. I had spoken with him just recently, and he had told me that he has not signed on to it simply because he is not on that committee. I disagreed with him on that. However, his opponent in this year's election is totally against vaping. So I have to follow my representative, who at least is willing to support it when it comes up for a vote. But remember, we, the people, have to go out there and we have to fight. I don't care if you're sitting at home and you're thinking that your vote does not matter, because it does. The place it matters the most is with your representatives, because your vote gets them in office. Your vote allows for them to promote your beliefs. Your vote allows for them to go and represent you in D.C. So just remember that. Remember that they work for you, and let them know that. Remember to go out there and support H.R. 2058 and support the Cole Amendment. The Cole Amendment will give us a precedence for H.R. 2058. It will help us in that. Just remember, all that matters is that we're fighting and that we're doing everything we can. If you have a little extra, go out there and support CASA, Not Blowing Smoke, Vaping Militia, and every single SFATA, ABA. Support everyone that you can. Go out there and support the coalition that is doing litigation. Do everything you can to support H.R. 2058 and the Cole Amendment. Like I had said in an earlier video, the Cole Amendment is a good start, but it's not the final. It's not what we as a community need as the final say. We don't want to be approaching this again in 2 years, afraid that our vapor products are going to disappear even faster than they are now. Remember to sit back, relax after you do all that, and let the lawyers figure out more. You know, as my honesty and integrity was called out over this, I am saying right now, I stand behind CASA. I stand behind SFATA. I stand behind Not Blowing Smoke. I support these organizations, and you should too. Now, I don't have my mod right here with me because I don't need it all the time. Today's a day of discussion. Today's a day of thinking. So remember, you gotta fight, guys and gals, for your rights to vape. See you later.